Now, Trump's tariff threats remain our top focus this evening. Overnight, exporters in India received a shock when the US president announced the imposition of an additional 25% tariffs on Indian goods effective from the 27th of August. This will take the total tariff rate to 50%. CNBC TV 18 Shivani Bazars reports that this has exporters in a tizzy, with many calling for the government to urgently intervene.
A 50% tariff overnight.
And India's export backbone is under strain. This leather goods unit, part of 4,000 crore rupees supply chain to the United States, is now facing cancelled orders and pricing pressures. And it's not alone. Textile exports worth 90,000 crore rupees in gems and jewellery shipments, nearly 80,000 crore rupees annually to the United States, are now caught in the crossfire. With no clarity on the penalty clause and the global buyers already shifting to cheaper markets like Vietnam and Bangladesh, the real risk is long-term market loss for India.
President Trump's announcement was not without warning and came after weeks of his expressing displeasure over India's continued import of Russian oil. The extent of the additional tariffs, however, is still a shock. A new 50% tariff, up from around 25% earlier, will kick in on August 27. Economists say it could wipe out up to $50 billion worth of Indian exports annually, affecting leather, textiles, jewellery, seafood and even engineering goods. Competitors like Bangladesh and Vietnam only have to contend with sub-20% tariffs, and exporters say this gives these nations a decisive price advantage.
Once you lose your customer, you lose the market. So if we are not in a position to retain our customer, after a month or so, we should be ready to lose the market. And once you lose the market and customer, it is very difficult to get him back.
For the apparel industry, the hit could be immediate. The US buys 1/3 of India's textile exports, worth around $10 billion a year. Apparel alone constitutes $5.33 billion worth of exports. Industry bodies warn that if buyers reroute even part of this demand to low-tariff suppliers, India could lose market share gains built over a decade in a matter of months.
They are a major market, accounting for 33% of sales. So that entire exports, may go out of the window. There has been an effort on the part of the industry and the government to diversify market, but to substitute US market in such a short time would be, well-nigh impossible.
The gems and jewellery sector is also reeling. The All India Gems and Jewellery Domestic Council says the 50% tariff could make Indian gold jewellery unviable in US market, threatening the livelihood of thousands of artisans. For leather goods exports, the wound may bleed more because margins are wafer thin. Even the much lower 10% baseline tariff USA had proposed earlier forced exporters to absorb costs to keep buyers. So they say 50% tariffs will mean the end of the road for many players.
When the reciprocal tariff of 10% came, we were approached by most of our customers and finally had to accept a small percentage that we would bear out of that 10%, and that almost wiped out the profits that we had. However, we had to take this step to be able to stay in business and to ensure that there is a continuity of the relationship. It would become unviable if we have to bear the burden.
Exporters say time is running out and they hope the Indian government will act quickly to give them some support.
Tariff hike has hit where it hurts the most: profits and pricing power. With the United States being a key export market, the industry fears a real risk of losing orders to competing nations. As negotiations drag on, businesses are looking to the Indian government for interim relief before the tariff blow turns into a full-blown export crisis. In New Delhi, with Vijay Lakshman Singh, this is Shivani Bazar.